I live in a rural place, and there are a lot of cats in the area that live like wild cats. And every so often I find a lost or sick kitten, and I take it in, look after it for a while, and then find it a home. One day when I was walking my dog, I heard a cry coming from the ditch, and when I walked over, this little kitten came running up to me. She's the only kitten I've found that actually ran to me and let me pick her up, rather than me having to go to great lengths to catch it like I usually do. So I took her home. She had a bad eye infection and a bit of a sneeze, but she was otherwise a very happy, playful, curious girl. My partner and I looked after her and gave her some food and fluids over the next couple of days, but I was worried about her eye infection. The vet that my dog Abby goes to is an amazing vet, but she was booked up and they were about to close for a holiday weekend. I tried every clinic I could find and they were all booked up, or they turned me away because I lived outside the city. The only clinic that could fit me in was the clinic that I left years ago, because after a routine vaccination they sent my dog home vomiting blood 2 years in a row, and they were quite cold and dismissive about the whole thing. But I really needed to get some prescription-only eye drops, and they were the only place that would take me in. So I took Nutmeg there, and they gave me the eye drops I wanted. They also gave Nutmeg a broad-spectrum injectable antibiotic called Convenia. I'd never heard of this drug, and she told me it would help. She didn't mention any risks, and she made it seem like a great idea, so I said yes. Convenia is a newer type of antibiotic that was developed by Pfizer. Unlike oral antibiotics, which can be quickly stopped and cleared from the body should something go wrong, Convenia stays in the body for about 65 days. It's supposed to be quite a safe drug, but if an adverse reaction does occur, there's no way to remove it or reverse its effects. This information was not given to me when I agreed to give her the injection, so I went ahead thinking it could only help. And that's when everything changed. Within about 6 hours, Nutmeg started to act differently. She became a bit lethargic and just not herself. The next day, she was a bit spaced out and fearful. The day after that, she was a completely different cat. She had a small tremor, she was hiding in dark places, and she didn't want to be held. On Wednesday night, she had a really bad seizure. This is something I've never experienced before, and I didn't really know what to do, but I knew I needed to document it so I could show it to the vet. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Shh, it's okay. It's okay. She began to walk in circles. Sometimes she was even walking backwards. She was peeing herself. She became very fearful. And she started having more seizures. And during all this, I had called the vet who gave her the drug. I was told she'd call me back, but instead she had her assistant call me. And the assistant told me the seizures were not related to anything they did in the clinic, and that Nutmeg must already have had this condition. I disagreed, and I told them that this drug has a petition calling for its ban, with over 5,000 signatures, and that the symptoms my cat is suffering with are perfectly in line with the known side effects and what thousands of other people say their cats experienced. The woman was just emotionless and cold and told me to go and find a neurological clinic. I called my own vet and I booked the next available slot, and she was able to fit me in the following morning. The next 18 hours were among the most heartbreaking hours I've ever experienced. Nutmeg started having seizure clusters. They weren't as violent as the first few she had, but they were coming every 5 or 6 minutes. She was suffering in a way that I just could not imagine a kitten could suffer. She had had over 100 seizures by the time I got to the clinic, and she was very weak. I'm just about to take her to the vets, and she's probably going to have to get put down. And so, this is probably the last time she's going to be on video. Blood work was done and tested negative for FIV and feline leukemia virus, and some of the other conditions that the vet thought might be related to the seizures. The results also showed that her kidneys and liver were in trouble, and her red blood cells weren't behaving normally. The vet said she keeps Convenia in the clinic but only uses it when there's no other option, and that she would never even consider giving it to a kitten this small. She knew the outlook was extremely bleak, and she brought euthanasia into the conversation, which I was expecting. But I wondered if it might be possible to use an anti-seizure medication to buy us a few weeks for the Convenia to clear her system, and she was willing to go down that road, but she said the kitten is so small she would have to special order in a lower dose than is normally available, and that it might take weeks for the treatment to take effect. And with the kitten so small and in this condition, it was a big unknown. We'd also need to try and treat the liver and kidneys, but I knew that this would just mean Nutmeg would continue having seizures for weeks and that it would likely leave her with brain damage. But worse than that, she would be suffering unimaginably. And I just could not bear to let her suffer like that, even for another minute. So I made the decision to end her life and end her suffering. And I'm just devastated, It's like haunting me because of how much I saw her suffer and because she came to me for help with an eye infection, so full of life and love and playfulness. And because of decisions I made, she suffered so much and now her life is over. The vet just put her down. I'm devastated. It's not because she's dead. It's because she suffered. She suffered so much in her last days. Hi, Abby. I'm sorry this video is so sad. This channel is normally just positivity, but I just can't let Nutmeg go and be forgotten by the world. And I felt I had to add her story to the thousands of stories from people who lost their pet to this drug. Nutmeg wasn't my pet. She was just a tiny cat with a sore eye who needed some help. And I'm so sorry for what's happened. I wrote this tune for her and I hope she can rest now. Goodbye, Nutmeg.